Hello everybody, this is Ronan. I'm back for the next part of my series on working with EVA Foam. So I took a couple days and redid the top of my Mandalorian helmet. The reason I did that is this is what it turned out to be before, and it came out to be a little bit too pointy than I liked. Mandalorian helmets, as you can see, are more rounded and flat on top. This came out to be a little more dome or more pointy than I wanted. I think the problem was I made a lot of these little cuts too wide, and so when it pulled together, it made it a tighter curve. I also redid the Pepakura to make it so it's not a lot of little sections, but they all come together at the top, kind of like when you peel an orange. And it worked out a lot better. I did have to sand some, so I want to talk about how to sand foam. Some people don't realize that, but yes, you can sand it, just like you would wood. And so a lot of people know how to sand, some people don't. So I want to go over some of the tools I use to do that. There's a couple tools I use. This is called a Dremel Tool, or a rotary tool is the type of tool it is. Dremel is the brand name. And it's really nice. You can do a lot of grinding with it, sanding, cutting. It has a lot of different attachments to use with it. You can do some battle damage. You can make bullet holes. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. This is what's called the Orbital Sander. This makes it so you can sand large areas, or it's also called a palm sander. This is what's called oscillating sander. You don't have to get this kind. You can actually get the little mouse sanders, and what they do is make so you can get into points really easy. And when it comes to sandpaper, there's different types or different grains. And so what you do is you find the lower the number, the bigger the grain, so the bigger the sand on it. So obviously the more it'll take off. So as you go, you keep doing a bigger number, and then an even bigger number for the really fine stuff. And that gives you the smooth finish. When you first do it, when you do an 80 grit, it really tears it up. So you have to sand it back down and kind of close the cells again. And so from this point on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this. Because if you were to paint this right now, the foam would absorb the paint a lot. You have to use a lot of it to actually make it shiny or make a surface to it, because the foam is really porous. So what you got to do is you got two different methods at this point. You got to decide if you want a hard surface or a flexible surface. This helmet's going to be a harder surface because there's not going to be any flex points on it. I do have this piece here that I created. It's a big chest piece, and what I do is I want it to be flexible. So I did another route. What you do is you seal it with Plastidip. It's a plastic spray. You can see, and you can find this at Home Depot for about $6. And then I covered it with just latex house paint. It makes it so it's flexible, it doesn't crack. I can store it in extreme temperatures, have no problem with it. But I know this piece is going to bend and flex, so it won't snap. This is a helmet. You don't want those to bend or flex. You want it to be very rigid. So what I'm going to do with this one is a different technique. I'm going to use some PVA glue. You can get Mod Podge or just basic Elmer's glue, school glue, that kind of stuff. I'm going to put a couple coats on it to make it hardened. And then I'm going to put some stuff called Smooth On, a product called Smooth On 65D. And it's going to make it that nice hard shell. The reason you use this is, one, to seal the pores, and two, the Smooth On doesn't really stick to the foam. So this sticks to the foam, the Smooth On sticks to this. And so once I get to that point, I'm going to put 2 coats on here, and then I'll go into how to apply the Smooth On and what that is.